As soon as you do, I'll just wait for it to pop up here. There.
So you got it?
Yeah, so I'm just going to add, Lucas, we were just a moment late turning on the recording. So for those that are joining us and watching the recording later, I'm glad you're able to join us as well. All we've talked about in the first couple of minutes here was recognizing the amount of work that's going to happen during the next few months. And then we hand it over to Lucas. Lucas is lead on the project, and Ross is the project manager. And they're going to walk us through a presentation now. Back to you, Lucas.
Okay, thanks. Okay, can we see that presentation there?
I can see it.
Okay, so we'll get into a bit of the work description here. So the proposed road cross section is going to be the same as what was presented at that public meeting that was held a few years ago in 2019. And so this cross section took into account written and email comments that were received from the public and implemented into that design to come up with that final solution. And the overwhelming popular choice of the designs proposed is the one that's now being implemented, and it'll be very similar to the one that you can see to the east. Planks Lane will be reconstructed to an urban cross section with curb and gutter. A concrete sidewalk is going to be installed on the north side, and an asphalt MUP will be installed on South Boulevard, similar to the east section. The storm sewer system is going to be modified and will include some form of low impact development. And these low impact developments are a little bit of a way to address water runoff and to address climate change. So this is a typical cross section. So you can see on the north side here, we have the 1.5 meter sidewalk. Then we have the 2 travel lanes in the middle here, and then the 2.4 meter MUP on the south side. So in conjunction with the road reconstruction, so what we see on the surface, there's also utilities underground, and some of these are owned by the region. So the region will be replacing the existing sanitary sewer and service connections and the existing water main and water services. And these replacements are due to the age of the existing infrastructure. So temporary water service will be provided to all residences during construction. So all residents will have access to municipal water at all times. And the region will also confirm the location of all sanitary laterals with the homeowners. The schedule, so the tender was awarded in May, and we had a pre-construction meeting in May as well. Mobilization and setup will begin late June, and construction is scheduled to start the beginning of July, with substantial completion of the project around the start of December, with final cleanup and everything, hopefully by the end of September. So that's what we're aiming for with the schedule. So there are some impacts with construction projects like this. There will be a little bit of inconvenience. There'll be noise, dust, and dirt, vibration, some access restrictions for short periods of time. But every effort to minimize these impacts will be made. But we just want to make everybody aware that there will be some impacts. We can't mitigate everything. So just please have a little bit of patience with the project. We're expecting it to only take 2 months, and it's really necessary to replace that aging infrastructure. In terms of grading and tree protection, so the limit of grading varies along the street, but generally we're matching at the property line just behind the existing sidewalk. Some driveways will get tapered back a little bit further than that, just to make sure that the grade is nice and smooth. And large trees and vegetation will be protected with fence during construction. And all the large trees along the road are not to be touched. So the pre-construction inspection, I believe all the letters were handed out, and I think all of these have been completed. So they inspected the inside and outside of the home, as the letter probably already explained. And so this is used to, so then they perform vibration monitoring during the construction. So sensors will be installed to monitor to ensure that the vibration is kept within an acceptable limit. And they also have the ability to install remote monitors if we're seeing issues in particular areas. So while there will be some vibration due to the compaction required for the trenches and the road base, the contractor is going to do everything that they can to keep the vibrations at a minimum. And this monitoring will allow them to adjust their methods to meet their compaction requirements without causing any issues. So Planks Lane will be closed through traffic during construction. It'll be only local traffic and emergency vehicles only will be permitted. Construction vehicles are to access the site from Highway 47 and Nelkid. And the contractor is going to make every effort to maintain pedestrian access through the site during construction while it's safe to do so. There may be times when your driveway won't be accessible, but the contractor will provide advance notice of those times so that your car can be placed in an area where you can access it and you can leave whenever you need to. Garbage collection. So the contractor will be responsible to ensure that garbage, recyclable, yard waste, and green bin waste collection is maintained. And when necessary, they'll move those materials to an area where they can be collected. So what we found in the past is that writing your house number on your bins allows the contractor to get your specific bins back to you at the end of the day. So that's pretty well the presentation. So we'll just open it up to any questions. And between me, Ross, and Ben, hopefully we can get them answered for you.
Hi, Lucas. I had asked, I think, when you came, but can't remember if you gave me an answer. So the times of construction during the week and the weekends, like what are the time frames there?
I believe is our bylaw 7:30 to 7:30, Ben?
7 till 7.
7 till 7. Okay.
So 7 a.m. And that's Monday
Monday.
to Friday or
Monday to Saturday.
Monday to Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no construction on Sundays or public holidays?
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless there's an emergency.
Right. Okay.
And you likely won't have any on Saturday unless they're behind or they've got something that has to get done. But typically they're not going to work on Saturdays.
Sorry, when you say for parking, like alternate parking, would that be like, say, behind our house, like on where the curling club is or the senior center? Like, would it be somewhere like that, pretty close?
Yep. Yeah, we could you could park there if you need to. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're reading its briefs, and you don't have any concerns about getting a parking ticket or anything for parking there overnight.
Okay.
And if an overzealous parking person was to give a ticket, I don't think you would, but if they do, you let us know and we'll take care of that.
Okay, great. No, because I'm just wondering, say we had visitors or whatever, like, would we just ask them to park back there or whatever? Right?
Yep.
If you're worried about security, if they park between the seniors building and the curling club, both the seniors club or the senior center and the curling club have video cameras in that back parking lot.
Okay, and they're well lit too. They're well lit.
Chris, did you have a question?
Yes, you mentioned that all the properties along the affected part of the street, have they been inspected?
Ross, have you heard from them?
I haven't heard if they've all been completed. I know they got started late last week they got started. I haven't heard how many are done yet, because there was quite a few,
okay.
because we do a pretty big area, a couple of blocks each way, just to make sure everybody's covered. So if they haven't been done, they will be probably this week.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
mine got done internally today, but the external won't be probably till later on, he said. Especially because it rained today so much.
Okay.
Hey, Lucas, let me just, if you don't mind, I'll ask a question, and the couple of residents can think if they have any more. Just based on some of the questions that we've faced in the first two phases, putting in the water lines and so on got quite a bit of attention, right? Putting them in and then connecting to the residents' houses, and then even making sure that it's safe drinking water, because we're always concerned about that. And there's a waiting period, right? It feels like everybody is left to make sure it's all working. Can you just walk through the installation of the temporary water line and how we test it and chlorinate it and deal with all of that? Or if not you,
Yeah,
then Ross.
that might be a good question for Ross to walk
Okay,
through the
fair enough,
exact
yeah, sure.
process.
No, it's fine. And what the contractor will do is we'll install piping down both sides of the road, and they connect it up to the existing water system with a backflow preventer. They chlorinate it, and then they have to, and the pressure test it, but then it has to sit for a certain length of time. And the region samples the water and make sure that it's potable, that it's all safe to drink. And then once that passes, then they go and connect to each person's house. So they'll turn off the tap at the street and connect you internally with the new system, so you'll have fresh water.
And everybody would have normal, like their showers, their washing machines, their toilets, everything will work just the same amount of pressure?
The same amount of pressure. And a lot of times they hook up to like your hose bib or something, so it's still the same diameter of line coming in.
Yeah.
So you don't have any issues with water pressure.
Okay. And just from experience, again, going back to the east, there was a resident with a irrigation system and he didn't have any problems as far as pressure for his system. So there's no concern that I've experienced from those first two phases regarding water. It just takes time to get it installed, pressurize it, and then we wait, right? You chlorinate it and then we wait a few days and test it.
Yeah, it's almost a week of testing before the region passes it, and then gives the contractor the okay to hook it up to each house.
You'll remember too, Ross. Remember on the corner of Planks and Third, I'm just getting my directions here, southwest corner, there was like almost a pressure release, right? There was water continuously spraying. I think it was just, will we have that on this project? Will there be a place that has to happen?
It more than likely, yes. It just, what they'd like to have is the water flow through the pipes, because if it sits and there's a dead end in the system and then that last person isn't using their water very often, then it becomes stagnant and you have a chance of bacteria developing. So it's better to have it running, and
Yep.
it just keeps it flowing, and then there's no issues with bacteria.
Okay. So if it's at someone, resident's property, we'll just make sure they know what's going on, that we haven't broken a pipe. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, Ross, is there anything else just from the experience that, we've learned that, the residents get used to and understand once we explain to them? I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that's happened in phase 1 and 2. Lucas has already talked about protecting trees. That was a big deal in the first phase.
Yeah, trees are all be fenced off, protected. The drinking water was a big one.
Vibration, we've talked about.
The inspection.
To Rita's point, sorry, you go ahead.
So I was just going to say the sanitary sewer connections, we're going to try and fix some of those, because in this last block, there was some that were, houses were connected together and then went out to the street. So they're wise, and one person went to somebody else's, the next door and then out. So we put individual ones. And there's a couple at the west end that are like, I don't know how they got installed, because they're all over.
One of the oldest streets in Uxbridge, so there was some weird stuff going on.
Track them to figure out where they actually went, and we're still not 100% sure, but we're going to fix that.
Okay. And then we've talked about parking. There'll be time from time to time, there'll be a point where you're not able to bring your car to your driveway. So we've talked about where to go with that. Lucas, you mentioned dealing with garbage and recycle. Who takes, do the residents take their garbage down the street, or how does the garbage get to the next intersection?
So they just put it at your end of your driveway like you normally do, and then the contractor will deal with it. If the truck can't get down the road, then they can take it to the end.
Got it. Okay, good. Thank you.
I have one question. I noticed on the second phase, some of the driveways, it's like they did new asphalt like halfway up the people's driveways. Why would that have to be done?
That's usually to tie in and make the correct grading on the driveway, to give you a nice slope on the driveway. They sometimes have to go back a little bit further.
Okay, so we can expect that our driveways might get like redone some partially?
To varying degrees, yeah, they'll be back past the sidewalk that's there anyways.
Well, because some of them I noticed on the houses on that block is like almost halfway, half their driveway kind of looks new.
Yeah, and that's just, it's all for grading, just to get the grade back, because you could connect closer, but it would be very steep, and then you have issues bottoming out to get in. So it's better to bring it back.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just wondering why that happened. Okay.
Chris, do you have another question there?
Yeah, I have interlocking brick on my driveway. Is that going to be an issue?
No.
No, we can deal with the brick too. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Pick it up and stack it and put it back.
And relay.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Ross, Chris, I don't think it was your home. Somebody had a interlock on their front, I'll say where there's typically grass. So I think there's going to be somebody on the north side towards Franklin. You and I can go for a walk. She just had some concern because she had those circle packs where the brick comes out right up to the sidewalk, and she was worried that if it's going to get wider, that it could mess up the pattern. So maybe you and I can go for a walk, and we'll make sure that her concern's taken care of as well, same as what Chris is talking about.
They just put it back where they, the same pattern that was there, and if they have to extend it, they can make the pattern extend out.
Yeah, people just want to know, right? If we.
Oh, yeah. So it's better to tell them than upfront than have a surprise.
Yep. Hey, Lucas, anything, or maybe Ross, about the positioning of the hydro poles on the north side? Any thoughts on that? Are they going to go back into the same spots they are today? Do they even move?
They're not moving on this block.
Oh, okay,
We kept them
Good.
all right where they were.
okay.
We looked into moving them, and it was just a huge cost, and it was a lot of redoing up and down all the side streets. So Viridian said, leave it alone.
Okay. I think it was the same resident I was speaking with, because they were talking about, because I said certainly they would be on public property,
Yep.
township property. But she said, this was built a long time ago, and in those days there wasn't such a delineation between public and private property. So if they're not moving, then it just makes that point moot anyway. So we're good. Chris, is your hand up again or still up? Still up. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't lower it. I will lower it now.
Okay, thank you. So Lucas, I'll let you wrap up. I'm just going to make a quick comment here, if you're okay with that. What we'll do is make sure that this recording, because there was a bit of a preamble at the beginning where we talked about, excited to be moving forward into phase 3, the amount of work that's going to happen, recognizing that it is disruptive. When it's done, it's like construction on your home, that when it's done, it feels really good. And we've seen that for the 2 phases before to the east. It looks really good and very functional when it's all cleaned up. What I just want to make sure is that for people that have tuned in, that we recognize that. And then what we'll do, just for those of us internally here, to make sure, I'll post it on my page, and Ben and I will talk to Colleen to make sure it's available somewhere on the township website as well. Just a little more structured when it's on the township side. So we'll make sure that it's out there for other people to see too. Oh, back to you, Lucas. I'll stop.
Okay, yeah, no, yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. We're excited to get this project going. And if you have any questions in the meantime, you have that email that was on the notice there, the plankslane@uxbridge.ca. And we will be distributing a contact list before the project starts up, with emergency contact numbers and mine and Ross's numbers as well. So you'll be able to get a hold of somebody if you have any serious issues or anything that you want to talk about. So that will be forthcoming.
Yeah. And on a side note, we will have an inspector on site every day. So he's probably going to be your first point of contact. If you need something right away, go to him. If he can't help you, then he'll escalate it up to Lucas and myself or higher, and we'll get it sorted out.
Yep. So that'll be another notice that I'll hand out in the coming weeks. So, and yeah, I think that's it for me. Yeah, thanks again for coming.
Great. Thanks for doing this, Lucas.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.